Welcome to Erotic Wisdom with Mrs. Love.
Okay, here we are in a little green cabin.
Hello.
With my beloved friend Dez, Baba Dez, world traveler that graced Cape Town with his presence, although so briefly, very richly.
Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that framing. It's a joy to be here and share with you. You've become a very prominent figure in South Africa in the sacred sexuality and tantra scene.
Slowly.
Yeah. Well, and I understand why. You're amazing.
Thank you. So I've been wanting to ask you this question. Maybe it's more of a conversation. There might not be a straight answer, of course. But of course, as a teacher, as a facilitator, as a creator of space, as a dakini that share teachings from a specific lineage as well. Sometimes I'm sitting with this meditation. For me, is becoming quite relevant. And when to intervene and when to let the teaching unfolds. Meaning, one aspect of dakini and sacred sexuality teacher and spiritual teacher, there is a stream we call the Dharma protector. Meaning that when the teaching moves, it needs also to be respected and held with integrity and moved with impeccability, humility, devotion. And especially when we're teaching from long lineages that moved through people more than books, human beings that pass the teaching to the student, onto the student, and the teaching vibrates truth. And so sometimes I'm making you a very example related to me. When I teach, I see people come, they do one workshop with me, and the next moment they're teaching the content. And so there's always that very fine line. Where do I intervene and say, hey, are you sure you're ready for this? Are you sure you understood the practice in order to teach it? Sometimes I feel they need to sit in the practice longer. I found, there is this need to be a student longer than the desire to be a teacher too quickly. And sometimes I also think, who am I to protect the teaching? This is the Dharma, for fuck's sake. Doesn't need little Valentina to protect and to arrange, Absolutely not. And yet again, I see sometimes how some practitioners harm themselves and their student in the confusion of the teaching because maybe they move them too quickly or they mix teaching, tradition, and I think they're doing a great movement, but from the outside, someone that is more experienced as an elder sees, and yet the young one needs also to have the experience in the teaching and fuck up and do the mistake, and because the only way we really learn. I remember learning from my deep critical mistakes. They were the big one that really shook me and woke me up. So, in light of you that have seeded ISTA, this massive organism, that started with you as a teacher, a practitioner, I imagine your circle of colleague, student, people that you know closely, became bigger and bigger with many, many teachers. And sometimes I sit by myself thinking, how do you do this? Do you feel you have to protect the Dharma? Do you trust it completely? How was the movement for you to let it go, as it seems like that you have, for me? It seems like you have let go completely and let this organism have its own life. Yeah, I'm curious in your internal, intimate movement around this. Was it easy? Was it deeply hard? There was heartache. Well,
you're touching on a lot of different things. And I totally understand this question and this quandary. This has been a discussion ever since, it was a discussion back in 1985 when I first started doing this work. So some of these discussions are just ongoing discussions. But I definitely have some feelings about it, and I feel like the key thing for me is all around embodiment. Because you can have teachers that are really charismatic and really well spoken, and they can basically share and communicate all kinds of concepts. That's different than embodiment. Okay, so in my opinion, the most powerful transmissions and the most powerful teachers are the ones who have that gift of communication, that they also have been walking their talk and living the teachings, and they embody what it is they're sharing. There are people, like you said, that go out there and they just start teaching right away. I'm not in any judgment. They're gonna, it's like, my feeling is if they can bring people in and they can teach something and people are gonna pay and they want to listen and it's value to them, fair enough. Who am I to tell somebody that whatever they're learning from somebody is good or isn't good? I think it's the individual that can sit with it, someone sharing a transmission or a teaching, and go, hey, this resonates for me. This person feels real. This person feels authentic. Or if they're being fooled and the person is just parroting stuff and is whatever, then it's like that's their lesson. That's the student's lesson. The lesson is like, they'll wake up at a certain point and they realize that this person it doesn't really embody what they teach, and they're full of shit. And oh my God, I spent hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars with this person. What happened? It's like, oh, that's what you learned. Yeah. So, I've always taken it that way. When it comes to ISTA, we have faculty apprentices, we have faculty, and we have lead faculty. And quite honestly, I feel like there's a part of me that wanted to grow the organism. And the organism wanted to grow itself. Love wants to grow. ISTA, basically, love is at the center of ISTA, and that's who ISTA belongs to, is love. As far as, that's why it's a nonprofit. Nobody makes any money from ISTA unless you teach or you organize, including myself. So, so it's the way that it's been set up and the way that it's been grounded is by the lead faculty, and the lead faculty are beings that ideally have the gift of being wonderful communicators, but they also have reached a certain degree of embodiment and integration of what it is we teach. And I can honestly say that some of those lead faculty are more embodied than others. Some we've had to let go of because the embodiment wasn't there. And, I was always very positive in thinking that, well, if somebody starts teaching this, like myself, the more I taught it, the more I embodied it. So but everybody embodies at a different rate and in a different way. So I think now that ISTA's at a certain place in its development, I think it's good for us as a lead faculty circle. There's 15 of us now. I think it's a really good idea to raise the bar and really feel into the individuals, not just their gift and their charisma and how well they speak and write and communicate, but also, do they actually walk the talk? Do they embody the teachings? Do they have a powerful self-pleasuring practice? Are they vibrating their emotional bodies, and can we feel that? And rather than being a work in progress. And I will admit that I cut certain corners and I allowed certain people into faculty before they really displayed a sufficient degree of embodiment. So I think that's the key. When it comes to this whole thing, it's around embodiment and transmission. There'll always be charlatans. There'll always be fakes. There will always be people that are just faking it until they make it. And I'm not in judgment of that. I've had to fake it till I make it in the business world and in other places too. And I know very early on that the quality of my teachings were from the places of my own experiences and my own embodiment. So Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation. But I am not the police. And I also think that there's a lot of competition and a lot of ego and a lot of trademarking and a lot of branding. And it's not about love. It's about possession. It's about control. And it's about money. And I think a lot of the lineage thing is about power and money. And personally, I don't give a shit about lineages. I don't have much respect for lineages. I have respect for embodiment. I have respect for love. If a lineage is very anchored and rooted in love, that will be very apparent. But I know too many teachers and guru types from the East and lineages that are just antiquated. And they're like when I started to teach, another great example is when I started to teach some of what were called the secret teachings around sex magic and other things, there were a lot of people that were very upset with me that I was bringing these teachings into the mainstream, that I would teach people how to harness, or the concept of harnessing their sexual energy and being able to use that for conscious manifestation. And the thing is that the world has changed, society has changed, humanity has changed and evolved, and it was my feeling that it was time to bring these teachings to humanity because humanity needs them now. We don't need to protect the teachings. The teachings protect themselves. We don't need to protect the lineage or anybody from themselves, because if the teachings are real, we'll learn and grow from them. And if the magic is dark or not integrated, and it's the intention isn't clear, I already know that the magic won't work, because magic only works with love and ease. Magic doesn't work. Dark black magic and all this fearful magic stuff, it ends up taking a bigger toll on the practitioner that's using it for that purpose than it does for anything that results from it. So it's like I know that things are very self-regulating, and it's important for people to have the information, and they'll create their own learning experiences as they attempt to do very sophisticated things that they're not really ready to do. And I think that's the biggest thing, and my biggest complaint with Neo-Tantra and Tantra teachers, that when I first started back in the 1980s and 1990s, was that sacred sexuality and Tantra teachers, and even the teachers from the East, it was all very mental. And there wasn't a lot, and there was some of it, and Osho was kind of breaking through that. And I think he was somebody who did an amazing job at wanting to integrate more of what it means to be a whole integrated human being. However, that being said, also there's still the blind spots and the places where our own enculturation gets in our way, and we just don't know what we don't know. So, this is, like I said, this is a huge topic and a huge discussion. And I think what happens is down the road we can know whether it was a mistake or not. And I think bringing those secret teachings and the temple arts forward was not a mistake. Humanity is ready for it. And if any of those things are misused, they'll teach the misuser. And they'll bring that misuser into contact, and that happened for me too. Anywhere where I didn't quite understand something or didn't get it all the way, it would have to sit with me and would have to evolve, and I would evolve with that. So I feel like more and more people are doing that, and I think that's important.
Truth takes care of itself in a way, and so when you need to slap and whip, it just does that. Doesn't need me to support that. This I get it. And I also think it's in, I asked you a general question, and while you were speaking I was answering myself, thinking it's individual. In any situation there will be different, and there will be situation where it's appropriate to intervene and other where it isn't, to just really feel into it. So what I'm curious to know about is then, when you started ISTA, you spoke about trademarking and people, making school and making business. I'm also here in this process of making a school, and and I fight this process within myself all the time. I'm asking, what am I doing? And I'm solidifying a flow. What I want to create. It's for me now. It's ongoing. I see the trademarking out there that I also feel it's the business. But when I don't look at the business and I struggle to support myself in abundance, so also there is that aspect that I need to look at. So I'm really in awe that you created this very successful business model like ISTA, but you have let it go.
Right. Well, the intention from the very beginning was to create something to serve humanity, not to create another income stream for myself. So from the very beginning, I created successful businesses. I knew I had enough money to be okay. And I didn't want to bring that energy into ISTA as creating another income stream for myself, because I didn't need it.
Okay.
But I also knew that it was important to create a healthy income stream for the people who are working and organizing events, for the people who are facilitating events, and for the few people that we need to have as admin people to support the organism.
Yeah.
So we need to have a healthy financial model that works, that compensates people for their mastery. And so that's why ISTA's working, because the facilitators and the organizers and the admin, everybody is well compensated, as they should be, for the work they do. The profits get turned back into the organism, and they go to scholarship funds, and they go to supporting all kinds of things that support love on the planet. But that's it. Love's at the center. So you want to have good physical health. You want to have healthy diet. You want to have financial health. You want to have sexual health. You want to have mental health. You want to be healthy. And the other thing around ISTA, and one of my feelings, is living life without sacrifice or compromise. That there's no sacrifice, because the spiritual model is everybody's going to work and we're going to sacrifice and we're going to donate our time and energy and we're going to make this thing work. It's like, no,
I agree.
No, that's not how it works. So if you want to have a healthy financial model to bring in abundance on every level, not just relationships and health, but also financial health. And that's what I would say. If you're a person out there and you're looking for a teacher or someone to learn from, ask yourself, what's their physical health like? What's their emotional health like? What's their sexual health like, and what's their financial health like? And if they're healthy in all those ways, then I think you should consider them as a teacher. And I think and that's the thing, especially from the a lot of the teachings from India and the East, was this whole denial of the body and the whole denial of manifestations. So you have all this poverty and all this disease and all this lack of financial health. And somehow that means you're spiritual, that you renounce everything. And I think this old model is part of what has not really served humanity. Yeah. And we're starting to wake up and realize that a total health and abundance and a healthy relationship with money, sex, and power is very important. Money, sex, and power, especially if you're a spiritual teacher, to take your sexuality out of the shadow and quit pretending that you're celibate or something. Like being celibate is supposed to be something that's holy, It's like, it's bullshit, And I think so. Finally, that whole thing, and then of course they're not, and then they fall in shame.
Yes. That's a secret, Then the secret gets revealed. So just put it all out there.
So it comes out of the shadow, and that's the other thing, with this does that transparency and that authenticity. And I think one of the boldest moves as an organism we make is we hand power back to the individual. We hand power back to the lead of any specific training. And it's up to the lead facilitator, whether they want to, or their co-facilitators, or they want the assistants to be interacting sexually with participants. And there's no right or wrong answer, and there's pluses and minuses and pitfalls and gifts to either way. It's just about what's the truth now, and how am I going to run this training, and what's going to serve love the most. because we both know in a workshop situation with all the power imbalances and everything else, sometimes the most beautiful thing you can do is make love with someone. And if you have a rule that says, oh no, you can't make love with someone, then you can't do the most beautiful thing that love wants you to do because you have a rule about it. So, we're creating guidelines and we're blowing up rules. And because there's always an exception to the rule. And I think the bottom line is, as long as no one's being like, do no harm. So if you end up engaging sexually with someone and they walk away from the experience totally happy and enriched, there's no problem. But if you abuse someone or you manipulate someone or there's a power dynamic and then they have regret and they're upset and it's an issue and a problem, then you've got a mess to clean up. So that's what we're looking at. Who's creating messes, and are they cleaning them up, or are they just messes and creating bad situations? So that's the biggest thing. And of course, there's always going to be gossip and rumors. So especially in this field of personal growth development and tantra and sacred sexuality, there's a lot of competition. A lot of teachers are talking shit about each other because they're all competing for a market, which is totally ridiculous. I've never bought into that. So then they start throwing shit at each other, and it's really sad when the bottom line we're teaching is love and leaning in and communication, and then there's that kind of thing. It's very sad, but it's also very human, and I understand. And and I've had to deal with a lot of that kind of projection and a lot of that kind of gossip and rumors. And oftentimes a lot of the people that are creating the gossip and rumors and are complaining are the men or women who are in competition with the facilitators because they're not getting laid. So now they're complaining. So the people that are having the sexual interaction have no issues at all. It's the other people that aren't. Have evidence. Right. Yes. So then you've got a bunch of in my particular case. Let's talk about me. In my particular case, you got a bunch of men that are angry and jealous because they're not getting laid. And then you've got a bunch of maybe other women who aren't getting any, and they're angry and jealous too. And it's so ridiculous. The whole thing is just ridiculous. And so then we're just going to shame everybody and we'll make a rule that no one can have sex. So it's like, how human is that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I understand.
And the other ironic thing is the whole thing about power dynamics. It's like people. There's the white male. Dynamic, which is definitely is there. There's an entitlement piece there that's going on. And I'm just generalizing. But it's like, who's got the power? Who's got the money? Who's got, money, sex, and power? And they're all related to each other. And what's our relationship to those things? And I think the big work is making sure your money and your sex and power are basically ruled by love, not personal greed or lust or, desire. That actually your desire is love, and your money, sex, and power are just tools of love. And if you can do that, then you're going to create a lot more ease in your life. That's definitely for sure. And it's like, yes, if you're a teacher or you're an authority figure, then there's going to be power in that because people are going to listen to you, or they think you know what you're talking about anyway, or somehow there's a power dynamic there. But a beautiful, sexy woman doesn't have power.
No.
Holy shit. Are you kidding? It's like powerful men go down on their knees to, so it's like, how conscious is the power, and how many
tremendous power.
Yeah, and the tides turn and the credibility turns and people start to listen, and whether it's true or not, a lot of powerful men have been brought down by some powerful women that are willing to own their power and step into the truth and speak their truth.
Yeah.
So, if you're operating with love and there's respect and there's communication and there's healthy boundaries, and you're teaching that and you're embodying that, then you're not going to create a lot of problems. You know, like I said, you might get a lot of jealous, angry boyfriends and girlfriends and jealous lovers and things that are going to make a big stink. And that's oftentimes what happens. And sometimes there is abuse. And what I love about ISTA is we've got 14, 15 very powerful men and women in our lead faculty circle. And we're constantly reviewing each other. We're constantly looking at each other. We're constantly opening up to the field to get reflection and feedback from everyone. And if there's abuse of power going on, you will be called out in this field. It will not go on. And we're constantly stalking each other and stalking ourselves. And if we're creating messes and problems and dramas continually, then we're going to be called to power. And if we cross certain boundaries, you will be dismissed from faculty as well, because we won't tolerate that. We won't tolerate abuse, and we won't tolerate misuse of power. And I feel like we've got a really, really powerful handle on that one, and that's why ISTA continues to grow and expand, because of our integrity as an organism.
So you also have the faculty, lead faculty, which are the most experienced teacher, the elder teacher. And then do you also have a governance circle?
Yeah, governance is actually made up of lead faculty. So 3 people in lead faculty, and every year and a half someone comes in and someone comes out. So there's always 3 people. And when things need to be discussed, or there's an issue that needs addressing and something needs to be efficiently dealt with, we have 3 people that move into that governance position. And they also help kind of hold the organism. And when we have every year and a half, we have an ISTA core gathering, and they kind of are like the hosts of the gathering, and they review admin. It's a lot of work, and it's an honor, but it's also not a paid position. It's a volunteer position, and it's 4.5 years of a lot of love and a lot of work and a lot of commitment and a lot of willingness. And we've had 5-6 people now go through that experience of 4.5 years of being in governance. And it grows you and you learn a lot. And it's a phenomenal experience. However, those 3, if they're not embodied, they can create they can go into power tripping too.
Oh, of course.
Now they're holding power.
And now there's only 3 of them.
So we've had some learning experiences around being in governance, and those people learning about power and learning how to wield power and hold power and how to share power. And I think that's the biggest gift, not only in governance, but in the leads faculty circle, is that we're learning how to share power, and we're learning how to hand power back to each other and support each other to make decisions. And unless somebody really does something illegal or really terrible, we basically all sit down and we talk to each other and we call each other out, especially if somebody's having an issue. And if it's nothing serious, then we make recommendations and we tell them. But ultimately, it's that person's decision what's going to happen. Unless, like I said, there's a severe violation, and we've had to dismiss some people from faculty because there's just been a lack of willingness or too much separation, or a lot of different reasons why the lead faculty circle would come together and say it's just not appropriate for this person to continue on in their position because of what's happened. Peer review, crossing boundaries, and abuse of power, and also just not being able to come back into love and ease and presence. And as a lead, you've got to know how to come into love and ease and presence. And you also need to be humble and admit when you fuck up. That's the biggest Take responsibility.
Yeah, totally. Instead of making stories. So tell me, I just want to know from you.
Yes.
I'm curious, this is all the organization part. I want to know your heart, your love affair with ISTA. How has moved you in your life, this organism that was born from your love, a gift you wanted to give humanity, and is it always been loving and easy? Did you have hard time, like with a hard lover? how did you move from the place of this human being, your heart as Dez, attachments that maybe was inappropriate? I don't know. I'm
Well,
wondering.
with the organism, I mean, the first 5 years or so, it was pretty much just me, from 2007 to 2012, 13, it was pretty much me just running it. And then I started to get some advice.
And you were running every training with 2 co-facilitators.
Well, not always 2. I did the first training in South Africa was with 1, just me.
Yeah.
And then I did it with 2. But we learned that 3 is the magic number when it comes to facilitation for many reasons. And it dissipates projections. It keeps people in check. It keeps the other facilitators in check. It also keeps us in support, so that if someone in an event or in a very powerful circle like the level 1 circle, it's a very powerful container. And when somebody hits their emotional stuff and they start projecting on one facilitator, there's another facilitator, 2 more facilitators there to help guide the process.
Yeah.
It's very tricky guiding a process when you're the one who's being projected onto.
Yeah.
So it's a very important thing. The other thing is, if there's an issue with the facilitation team, then it's really powerful to have 3 as well.
Yeah.
That being said, when there's a decision to be made, the decision is always made by the lead facilitator. They're in charge of running the training. And they also get reflection and feedback from their co-facilitators. So it's a very healthy dynamic. But to come back to the question around my heart,
yes.
It's like, I like the analogy of ISTA being, this baby, this thing that was birthed. And, it was a newborn, it was an intimate, first it gestated, it gestated through the Sedona Temple and the Dhaka Dakini trainings and the spiritual sexual practitioner training that then turned into the experience, which is the level 1 today. But, as the organism grew, it's like it started to have its own personality. It started to magnetize in its own people. The facilitators, the people that saw it, that felt it, that said, "Oh yeah, I know this. I love this. This is what I want too." It's like, yeah, well, this is ours. This is for us. So I always had that thing. Like ISTA was never mine. Like ISTA, it's kind of, and that's how I am with a child too. Like when my son came through, it's like he's not my child. It's like this soul came through me and chose me, and I had the choice of whether I wanted to bring him through or not. So it's kind of, it's kind of like that same thing. Like ISTA is this entity, this being that's come to the planet to support humanity's evolution today. And so that's always been held like that. And then it grew up.
He used you as the channel of inspiration, the maker.
Yeah, and then amazing other facilitators and teachers saw the vision and they said, "Oh my God, this is amazing, this week-long experience. It's a huge rewiring. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole new way to share." It's like Lori Handler, she always said, "Yeah, I was teaching Tantra on my own, but I want to teach with my allies. I want to have fun. I want to teach with my tribe and with people." And that's what we do. We have a lot of fun. We support each other. There's a lot of abundance. There's a lot of growth on our own path. When you surround yourself with other powerful beings, you accelerate.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the guru model doesn't work anymore, because the guru is on top and then everybody else is an underling.
Yeah.
But if you actually sit with a group of gurus, you're gonna get called out. You're gonna grow even more. So again, that's the lesson.
I also find it very attractive for me as an individuated teacher.
Yeah.
I'm a bit bored and tired.
Exactly.
I want to have reflection. I'm really excited now to do Malta.
Sure.
To co-facilitators, like
So Lori's having the time of her life now, and so is everybody else.
See.
And so is everybody else in the ISTA organism, because we get it, and we're deeply in love with each other. We're deeply in love with the work, and we're deeply in love with humanity, and we're hope. We are hope, love. Hope is a great component of love. So I
see this, that also when you run a training, there is learning for the student and learning for the teacher.
Yes, we're all in the circle together.
Everybody is transforming and is adding.
Yes.
This was really beautiful to see. There wasn't this
hierarchy.
It's humbling from
Yeah.
the facilitator. They've done it before, of course.
Sure.
Like we've done so many, but never like this. Never in this
Right.
constellation. Maybe never with this colleague. Never
Yeah.
in this way.
Never
So-
at this location,
in
right?
this location. So there's always an element of novelty that
yes,
is.
yes. And
But
it's
let's
lovely.
come back to
so
your
coming
heart.
back to my heart, and so seeing this entity grow and seeing this big being grow, ISTA's now 15 years old.
Woo!
So it's a teenager, you know,
Yeah.
and I think part of what was going on for me was after so many years of teaching and holding point for this and really bringing, lots of my own finances and my own energy and my own passion, and I don't know where it came from. It came from love, but after a while, it's like I could feel like I need a break. I'm getting burned out, and it was just in time where the governance triangle was created. And I had enough facilitators to realize that these trainings can continue without me. So then it was about letting go. And 3 years ago, I moved into retirement and stopped facilitating anything. And just came back home to myself and just stepped away from ISTA for a while. And just kind of observed the organism, and saw that it was having its challenging and its growing pains, and people were trying to determine, well, what is the essence of ISTA? What is it? What are the values of this community? And people learning about that and finding it from love itself and from each other. And I'd be available once in a while to support and answer questions and give my opinions, but when it came to the day-to-day operations, I totally stepped back from it, and I stepped away from facilitating to just give myself permission to ask the universe and ask myself, who am I now, and what's my truth, and what do I want? What does love want for me now? And maybe it's not, has nothing to do, maybe I just need to go a whole different direction in my life. So it was really about putting it all down and letting ISTA go and letting it find its own way. And not only was it good for me to take a break, but it was also good for ISTA to know that it can move and function and succeed and grow and expand without me, and maybe even better without me, and that felt really good. So now I knew I don't need
then it
to
means
be
you've
there.
done a good job.
Yeah,
it's
and
like a
there
child
were-
that
yeah.
is teenager and is
Yeah.
completely independent. It can
Yeah.
take care of itself.
Yeah.
You parented well.
Yeah, and I could see when I first stepped back the first couple of years, there were some decisions and things made that were I knew like that's a mistake. There were some huge mistakes, but I also trusted that the people involved would get it, and they'd make the course corrections. And ISTA's making those course corrections, and we're coming back on course to what love really wants, and what it really means to embody love, and what it means to support each other to make decisions for ourselves, and how everyone in the organism, whether you're an organizer or a faculty or a lead faculty or an admin, how do I want to interact with this organism?
Yeah.
Like, what's my truth? And let people make their own decisions, And the beautiful thing is, as we add more faculty, if you're out there offering trainings and nobody wants to teach with you or co-facilitate with you, and no one wants to organize with you, you're not going to do any trainings.
Yeah.
So it's self-regulating, It's like, and people see your profile and they hear about you, whatever, and it's like people aren't going to come to your trainings. So this, and then eventually it's like, it'll just self-regulate, and you'll just fall away, and that's happening too.
How many training did you used to teach before you retired? How often? Like once a month or more?
Yeah,
than
something
that?
like that. Sometimes more.
Wow.
Sometimes more, but a lot of that, especially from I'd say about 2010 to 2016 or 17, my emphasis was really on supporting the new leads and the faculty to really understand the trainings, and to really understand why we do things in a certain order, and the reason why certain things are presented the way they are. And I can see that some of the faculty really understand that and really move with that, and some are still learning about that as well. Like they'll do an exercise, but they don't necessarily understand all the reasons why it's done this way. And so sometimes they'll change it, and then sometimes a piece will actually won't even land. It will be missing from the training. And I am concerned about that. But those are conversations I can have with individuals when it comes up and I notice it happening, or I can have as a group discussion with lead faculty, and other lead faculty can bring that stuff in too, And the beautiful thing is there have been so much creative energy, and so many of the lead faculty and faculty have brought pieces into the training and actually refined the training to make it something more and even better than it was before. So,
this is what I wanted to ask you. Originally, you did the program. Did you design the whole program?
Yeah.
And then as you were bringing more in, it also morphed.
Sure. Like that, there were a lot. I think a good example is, we give a transmission of divine masculine and father energy to support the father wound healing with people, and the same thing with mother. So there's a process where those things were done separately, and now we actually do them together. There's a mother, father, child ritual where that transmission is delivered much more efficiently and much more potently, and how it evolved and the ideas and how it through working together, it's like it becomes a more potent transmission of a certain embodied teaching. And I think that's really the key thing. It's like, it's not something you can read about or listen to. What we're offering people are experiences, and it's the experiences that create the deep changes and transformation in people. It's those experiences. It's always the experience. It's the truth embodied. Yeah. It's not a theory. It's vibrating. And as you know, because you've attended some of the trainings, it's like, that's why it's working, because people are transformed in 1 week. Yeah. And it's a phenomenal transformation. And I don't know of anywhere else you can go on the planet and go to a 1 week workshop and walk away actually getting the transmissions, and so many people getting the transmissions and stepping into a whole nother level of consciousness and reality. So it's pretty phenomenal that way. Yeah. And tell me, so what love wants you to do now? You said you're meditating and you're listening. Have you found a new direction? Love, what do you think it's for you now? Well, I've had some challenges when I stopped, and my challenge was to do nothing for several years. That was way harder than I thought. And especially if you do 2 trainings a month. So it was a whole shift, and so all kinds of stuff came up for me, and it's like, okay, Des, can you just stop and do nothing? So that was my meditation. So love wanted me to do nothing, and for a while, and now love is really happy that I'm having more ease and more fun. And I look back at all the work I've done in my life to create businesses and create ISTA and everything, and co-create ISTA, and I wonder, God, where did all that energy come from? How did I do that? But love and passion have its way. And so now I'm feeling into what are the things that really excite me on many different levels. I don't have to do anything. What do I want to do? Including just giving myself permission to just have fun and do nothing. So I've been challenging myself to keep having fun and doing nothing, and being just really present in the moment. Well, that's one of the teachings. What does it mean to live fully present, fully aware, fully present, and totally out of control? So the thing is, I don't know what's going to happen next. If I can be aware and present, then I can notice what's coming into my field and make choices as it reveals itself. Yeah. So, I meet people, I go to places, and I'm touched, and I notice, and I show up. So, like in my past when I was younger, there'd be a place or something, or a person, or a business opportunity, or someone who's really attractive, and I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid to show up all the way, because I just, but what I've learned over the years is like, oh my God, I am not going to miss any opportunity to show. So if I feel a possibility or an attraction with someone, I'm going to be like, who are you? What's going on here? I want to know, because I can feel the energy here. I can feel the attraction. And what's the gift? you know. So
Yeah.
it's again,
And
it's,
there's no more time to lose. I also
No.
feel this with aging. I notice the preciousness of time.
precious.
If when you're young, you can wait and lull about and second guess. Now there's no more time for second guessing.
Well,
you know when
yeah.
something is real.
Yeah.
You know when it moves you. Just move towards, because there is
Right.
this sense that time will pass, and I've missed also so many opportunity. I so relate with what you say, that when everything is presenting itself exactly as I desire, I get shy almost, you know. It's like
I know. So that's moved now, and I'm a lot more bolder that way when I feel something, to be able to feel in my heart and my body, my soul, and feel that. Yes. So I feel like part of the gift of this path has been being way more connected to my heart, way more connected to my body, way more connected to my soul, and making decisions that honor all of me and the planet and humanity. And love wins. That's what matters. Love wins. And so, you know, in that same context of showing up and not wasting a moment, doing nothing is not wasting a moment.
yeah,
Doing nothing is being present and finding the beauty that deeply touches me in that leaf that's falling from the tree.
yeah.
And, you know, I think that part of my conditioning and part of my ego would say, I don't have time for watching leaves fall from trees. That's bullshit, you know? It's like...
What else there is time for? You know, it's
Right.
like, these are the most important moments. And doing nothing and being no one. But we only get there after years of doing so much and
Doing so
wanting
much.
to be that one and this one.
Right.
And then there is the dissolution. It's beautiful.
Right. And really loving being in that place of not knowing. And that's when I don't know, then I can really just witness and watch the mystery and be in awe of what's revealing itself. And it just gets sweeter and sweeter and more magical and more beautiful every day. So life just keeps showing up and teaching me, and I keep getting blown away. So blow me away, love.
Come more often to South Africa.
Thank
We'll
you.
blow you away with the light.
I know. Well, I got that. That's why it's
What
been
makes
a few
you come
years.
back? It was a few years you
The
weren't
natural
coming.
beauty, and so many friends and lovers down here, and the nature and the land itself. Mother Africa is so beautiful and so
She's
powerful.
strong, eh?
She's strong
And very present.
yeah,
like
it's
fierce.
amazing.
I feel the
Yeah.
fierceness in this land.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up.
Voila.
Voila.
Thank you, my dear.
So love wins. I'm
I
gonna
love
name
you.
it like this.
Love wins.
Thank you, my darling.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Such a pleasure.
Always.
Mm-hmm.